In theory, from your Washington D.C. office, you can say anything you want, but then when it comes to the practicalities, well, where are we getting the supplies? How are we getting the supplies? Who's manufacturing the supplies?
Hmm.
That's a whole other conversation. What about infrastructure? Who's setting all that up, and how fast can that be done?
Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Automotive Repair News today. I'm Braxton Critcher with Chris Jones from Endeavor Business Media. What's up, Chris?
Hey, what's going on, Braxton?
Man, excited to have you here. So I guess the news is you got a promotion. So tell everybody about your journey and how you got here.
Yeah, so I'm coming into this new role of editorial director over the vehicle repair group from my previous stint as the editor of Ratchet and Wrench, which, I mean, as people in the industry know, it's been a near and dear to my heart relationship. I've loved Ratchet and Wrench from the time I stepped into it. I come in from my background is it started off in journalism and design. I was a graphic designer originally, and then I moved into journalism when I worked for a newspaper. Ironically. So
Okay.
yeah, I started
Okay.
off as a sports writer and kind of progressed my career from sports writer to marketing copywriter, back into full-time writing in magazines and publications and on the web.
Sports writer. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. I feel like we may have some similar backgrounds. I got into broadcasting to do sports, and then, well, here I am.
Yeah,
So
I feel like it's every boy who wants to do writing, man. It's sports writing, or some form of sports journalism.
yeah, you get in there and you're like, oh, this will be so much fun. And then you're like, actually, it'll be fun and a lot of work. So maybe
Yeah.
not.
Well, it's funny because, me and my cousin Mike both started off in the same. We were both covering competing high schools in different cities, right, in Virginia here.
Yeah.
And so I went on to do various types of journalism to where I end up now in automotive journalism. He's covering the NFL, so he got to his dream. He's covering the NFL.
Hey, 50-50 shot. Somebody had to do it.
Yeah, one of us made it, and so I'm like, every time I see him post pictures of himself at the Super Bowl, I'm like, gosh, man,
Yeah.
you did it, you did it.
Yep. 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 That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah. I kind of wanted to get into that myself. But it's just, you reach a point where you kind of got to choose family or career. I mean, you can do both, but you
Yeah.
definitely got to make sacrifices. So I think we both sort of ended up where exactly we needed to be. So excited to have you on the podcast. So tell me, as far as your role, what kind of is the vision for, what's next for Endeavor, what's next for, your position, and I don't know, what you looking forward to?
Yeah, so the vision for the role I'm in now is to really elevate all of the vehicle repair brands. As you know, we've got several vehicle repair brands. We've got mechanical repair, we've got collision repair, we've got tools and equipment, we've got modern tire dealer, which covers the tire space, professional distributor, which is for the tool trucks, motor age training. So we've got a lot of different automotive verticals. And so my job is to get in there and really help the editors take these things next level, really just see, basically fill the gap between where they are now and where the brands need to be for each one of them. So each one of them each one of them is in a different place. So the goal is just to standardize the brands, getting everything cohesive, and then filling that gap to get them from point A to point B so that we're all hitting our goals and really being good to our stakeholders, which is our readers and the people who invest in the magazine.
Right, right. So how long have you been with Endeavor total?
I've been with Endeavor since February of 22, so almost 2.5 years.
Okay. All right. And then the automotive journalism for how long?
Oh, same time.
Okay. That was your
Yeah,
first
this is
stint.
my first foray into automotive journalism. I come from a background of health, parenting, and general assignment writing.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So in your 2+ years of the automotive industry, what's your take on where the industry is right now?
The industry is very exciting right now. I think there are splinters in the industry, and I think that in time those will be addressed and those will repair themselves. But I think that the industry is an exciting place to be in right now with the advent of so much technology happening right now, both on the actual repair side itself, but in the process side of the shop, because we have so many really great things happening with software that's making the lives of people in the shop easier, which is making customer service easier. And I think those are the things that speak to improving industry reputation. When we were able to, as an industry, bridge that gap for customers, to make customers' lives easier with their interactions with the shop. So I think that is going to do a good thing for the industry. I think just technology, having more knowledgeable technicians coming out of these tech schools. I spent a week at ASC, and just the the passion and conviction of some of these instructors, like just what they're seeing with these students.
Yeah.
They said these kids are hungry, they're eager to learn, they're embracing technology, they want to get their hands into it. And so I think, if we can, I think for auto repair shop owners, just getting more involved in that, because at least kids need support. And that's the one kind of takeaway that I got, was that these kids aren't totally supported by their parents by entering the trade. So I think that the auto
Mm,
repair shop owners can really be those de facto kind of mom and dad type role models for these kids while they're training in these colleges and repair in these tech schools. And
right.
I think it would do a great solid for the industry.
Right. Right. So I think that's my perspective too. So I come from outside the automotive industry. I was in radio and music, and so
Yeah.
very outside of the industry. But because my relationship with Lucas Underwood, I had a pretty good idea or a pulse of the industry, and so I think I agree totally with you. It's exciting. There's a lot of things happening. It's definitely changing. It's for sure changing, but I think it's overall an exciting industry to be a part of. What do you think the person that doesn't really know much about the industry, what do you think their perspective is of automotive repair?
I don't honestly, you talking about like the customer, like the outsider?
Yeah, customers. Yeah,
I think I don't know that customers really. That's an interesting question. I think that customers just want things done. Customers are after results, and that's what they want. They want you to deliver on results. So I think that customers want things to be very easy. They don't want to deal with a lot of friction. I
hmm
think they want to know up front. Okay, what am I responsible for in terms of payment? I think it's one of the biggest challenges, I think, in automotive, is that you're dropping your car off. Because I know that I get that anxiety sometimes too. I'm dropping the car off and I don't know what's coming at me. And I don't
yeah,
and I don't know really know, I really don't know how to solve that problem. I just know that as a consumer, that's a problem that I struggle with. Like, I know I'm going to pay for a diagnostic. That's not a problem. Okay, I'll pay the 189 or $200 for the diagnostic. That gives me an idea of what I'm up against. But it's just that, now what am I? It's that
yeah.
anxiety, that in between anxiety of how much is this going to cost me in the end. And it's hard to say. Like, I think it's hard to say. But I mean,
I guess a
it's
better way to
tough.
phrase it. I guess a better way to phrase it, Chris, might be, what do you think the perception of the industry
Oh,
is?
okay.
A
So,
positive thing. Yeah.
okay.
Is it positive or negative?
From a consumer standpoint, I it's hard to say, honestly. The It's difficult to say how consumers feel about auto. I think
So
people.
I guess let me tell you what my idea of that is, and then you tell
Yeah.
me your thoughts. So I believe that the person who knows zero about automotive repair probably still has the perception that there's a greasy, gray haired, overweight mechanic working on their car that overcharges them for things that maybe they might perceive that guy as taking advantage of them because they know very little. And
Mhm.
I think that is something that has been there for a very long time. But my opinion is that that is changing a little. And I think overall, the hope for the automotive industry, and part of this podcast, is to help change that narrative. And so I do think maybe the perception overall of customers is improving of the repair industry, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. That's just my sort of take on limited knowledge. So I was just
Okay.
curious if you agree
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I understand. I do agree. I do agree with your sentiment. One thing I do notice, and I can say, is I do think customers trust dealerships more. And
Okay.
it's nothing. It has nothing to do with the independent repair facilities. It's just the fact that whatever that logo is in their car, they find a kindred spirit with the logo in that shop that they see. So
Okay.
if I have a Honda emblem on the car, I assume that Honda knows what to do with my car.
Do you think maybe that also goes into kind of what I was saying, was that normally dealerships are cleaner, a little more. uh, maybe not better communication, but they just seem to be buttoned up. Or maybe you think they are because they're a dealership. I don't know.
That's what I think
Uh,
it is. I think it's totally the fact. Like I said, I think it's totally the fact that it's that perception of expertise. I have a Honda car, I take it to a Honda
yeah,
dealer. I have a Chrysler car, I take it to a Chrysler dealer. Their communication, I can tell you firsthand, communication with dealerships is not very good. I've had to deal with dealerships because my wife's car was under warranty for a time. Not good communication.
right.
When it comes to getting the estimate and all those things back from them, there's no walking through the estimate. There's no going the extra mile with the courtesy inspection, which for better or worse, whether people like them or not, they are very helpful. That loop is broken. But with an independent repair shop, however, that loop is very strong. Like I go to an
Yeah.
independent repair shop, I'll get a text that says that my car was checked in. The technician's going to get it at a certain time. I get a text with my vehicle report, and then once I've read the vehicle report, somebody gives me a call, walks me through, and there's no pressure to buy everything. They just tell me what needs to be done now, and then I can schedule the other stuff later. So independents have a massive advantage with
Yeah.
technology on this side, a massive advantage. It's a matter of bridging that trust gap and breaking that threshold that the independents are enjoying. I mean, that the dealerships enjoy right now, which is just that, like I said, I think it just boils down to name recognition more than anything
Hmm.
else.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm 100% on the same page. So I just wonder, as I ask more and more people that same question, you know, I I do think maybe that's becoming the way it's viewed. So that's a good thing. I think it's
Mhm.
very,
It
very
is.
positive, you know? So that's
It
good. I'll
is.
keep asking that question to all sorts of people across the industry.
Yeah.
What do you think about EVs? And I mean, obviously, maybe the most talked about thing in automotive repair with ADAS, and then that goes along with EVs too, in some ways. So, what do you think about, like, I guess those two topics and how much influence they have in the way the industry is headed?
Yeah, and when it comes to EVs, I mean, they're coming, they're here. I think they're very similar to the wave we got back in, late 90s, early 2000s with the hybrid. When the hybrid first came along, and it was just kind of this weird vehicle, and people didn't know what to really think about or do with it. And you saw people driving the Priuses, and you kind of chuckled. It's kind of like the same thing you did with when people drove, the Tesla, and you chuckled. Like, oh, it's kind of cool, haha.
Then you
But
realize, wait a minute, that actually has more power than my 4x4.
yeah, you realize that, but I think it's a very similar trend. I don't necessarily think that there should be a mandate on how rapidly that transition happens. I think that's an error. I think
Yeah.
it just has to be a very natural progression, much like we handled with the hybrid. The hybrid was a very natural progression to the point where hybrid became a very normal vehicle, and people sought them out on their own, and they became more affordable as time went on. So I think that and time and as technology improved, and I think the same thing with EVs, as time and technology allows them to improve, become more efficient, less expensive to make, then I think you can make a case for more people buying into EVs. But I think right now, I think there has to be a little bit more leeway for the average person, because if not, you create transportation shortages, and you make those happen very rapidly.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, I guess that's a good question to ask next. Is that kind of the vibe you're getting from industry professionals, that there's a little bit of anxiety with some of the possible mandates about how many EVs have got to be? I think, what is it, by 2025? A lot of legislators that are wanting all automakers to make EVs at that point, right? I mean,
They're pushing for that, but I think the big automakers have been pushing back against that, against 2030, against 2035, because it's a tall hurdle. It's a
yeah,
very tall hurdle to climb. Given that, yeah, it's in theory from your Washington D.C. office, you can say anything you want, but then when it comes to the practicalities, well, where are we getting the supplies? How are we getting the supplies? Who's manufacturing the supplies? It's a
hmm,
whole it's a whole other conversation. What about infrastructure? Who's setting all that up, and how fast can that be done?
right,
So, in terms of, like, on the repair side with shop owners, I think shop owners I talk to they're preparing for them, but I don't know necessarily the urgency. There's no urgency yet, and I don't know that I necessarily agree or disagree with the fact that there's really no super urgent move towards it. Simply because there's still gobs of ICE vehicles on the road. The
yeah,
the average age of vehicles is 12.6. It's only going to go up because cars still aren't affordable to some people. The interest rates are still too high for most people to grasp. So I think people are going to continue to hold on to cars. They're going to find value in keeping their cars, you know, 13, 14, 15 years even. And it's cost
Mhm.
effective. It's a lot more cost effective to take your car to a repair shop, have it repaired, and buy those extra miles rather than splurging and buying a brand new car if you don't need to.
Yeah, yeah. How, up to date connected are you with what's happening in the Right to Repair Act?
So I'm somewhat connected to that. I've we've covered it. That hasn't been one of my strong suits. Like legislation is definitely not a strong suit of mine. I have a hard time kind of wrapping my mind around some of the concepts.
Sure, same, same,
but
same.
but I understand it, and I understand it from the perspective of a tech consumer. Just wanting just when you have your Apple phone or whatever the case, you want to be able to take it to anywhere to get fixed and not have it violate a warranty or
Sure.
cause issues with Apple. So when it comes to cars, I feel like it's the same thing. I think the biggest thing in right to repair, I think that is probably the most concerning is just the data aspect. The connected data aspect for both the shop owner who needs to be able to fix the car, but also for the consumer, like who deserves to have control over their data and who gets it and where it goes and how it's
Yeah,
handled.
yeah.
If I plug into my car is selling my data, that's not cool. But if
Yeah, it's
like, but
dangerous when you start to
yeah,
realize that they're selling it to insurance agencies and they're raising your premiums because of the
exactly,
data they
yeah.
get. I mean,
Yeah, but
that's
but
not
but they
great.
put but they push back on the independent repair shop who just wants to take care of the cars in their community, right? It doesn't make a lot of
Yeah,
sense. But at the end of the day, everything boils down to green, right? Everything goes back to money.
right, right. Where
And
where do you know where they're at on that right now? I know it's pretty much a split vote right now, but
yeah, they're still trying to get more legislators to jump on board. I mean, you've got some who side with the auto industry. You have some who don't. So the big makers, and you have some who side with the independents. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out or how long. It's like one of those like protracted wars that just seems to continue and continue because the longer it goes, you know, the, the more challenging it becomes for the independent side. And I think
right.
to a degree, I think when you're dealing with big corporations, that's part of their long game strategy is to exhaust you.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
I
right,
mean,
just to
think
get
about it. Like,
eventually give in.
yeah, I mean, it's like any litigation. If you're litigating against a big company, if you or I were litigating against our insurance company, their lawyers are going to try to exhaust us.
Mhm.
They say, okay, well, let me exhaust all your resources, your time, and your efforts so that you can just get out of our way.
So what do you think happens?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow. I mean, ultimately, like in a perfect world, we get this right and everybody's happy. In a perfect world, data is shared across all platforms. People ultimately, it's about the consumer more than anybody else. The consumer gets to do what the consumer chooses with their vehicle, and that's the way it should be. So for me, I think that's the big win. Is these automakers and legislators, they really need to think about, well, what's the consumer want? These are the people who are driving these cars. These are the people who are buying these cars. These are the people who are putting this kind of money into the economy. What's best for them and what do they want? And the consumers they should and rightfully deserve to have control of their data, and they should and rightfully deserve to be able to send their car to any facility to get repaired that they choose.
I'm hitting you with all the tough topics here, Chris. I appreciate you. You've been good. I'm just bouncing stuff off you, and you're hitting home runs every time. So you're doing well. So I apologize
I
for that.
appreciate it. All good, man. I'm loving the conversation.
So you ready? You ready for one more?
Go for it.
What's your take on is there or is there not a technician shortage?
Ooh, that's another good question. There's
Because
two schools.
everybody got
There,
something else to say.
there are two schools of thought there too. I'm of the mind. And it's hard because I don't own a shop, so I'm speaking
Right,
as someone outside looking in, saying, you know, have we turned over every stone? Right? Have we looked at how we're managing people? Because sometimes people just don't want to work because they don't like how they're managed. Are we looking at changes in work? The relationship of work has changed.
right. Oh
For
yeah,
better or worse, or whether people like it or not, we're not in the pre-pandemic work style anymore. We've kind of gotten to a place where people want a little more control over how they work or what their work looks like. And
right.
it's can we meet it? Can we evolve with that as business owners? Is that possible? Can they do that? Or is it location specific. I don't know. Like, what's going, what's available in your area. I think there's so many variables. Like, I know that of course, there is shortage of labor because you see it in other industries as well. But I think it's a matter of variables. Like, and I can't really express any opinion whether one way or another if we truly do have a shortage. I think there's opportunities to create your own luck, though. I think you, like I said, plug into these high schools, plug into the tech schools, create apprenticeships within the shop. I think there are a lot of things that you can do to eliminate your own shortage,
Right.
and not kind of look externally and blame. Okay, well, there's a shortage out there, so we're not going to find good people. I think that's a very unresourceful mindset to have. But if you get resourceful and say, well, yeah, let's start pulling these guys from high school, have them come in a couple days a week and be mentored by people in the shop, or let's go patch into a community college, try to help this program grow, bring people into the shop, go to career days, sponsor things, figure out ways to get the community to know that you're there and that, hey, we're a reputable shop, we're clean, we're good, we're paying good salaries. This is a great alternative to college if your son or daughter doesn't want to go to college. So yeah, I think there's a lot of way to create your own luck and end your own shortage. But again, that's me outside looking in.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think I don't it depends on who you talk to, like you said. I think ultimately though there is a labor shortage across all industries. Like, like you said, the workforce is changing. And so people want more flexibility. And it's not just in the automotive repair industry, it's
It's everywhere.
nationwide. Yeah. And I do think because most shops that I've talked to that do the things that they ought to, have good customer service, have clean bathrooms, do good work, and pay people well. They keep their customers happy, but also keep their technicians happy. For the most part, they don't struggle to find them. When they have an open position, technicians will go to those shops. So I had Chris Cotton told me that he believes there's not a technician shortage, but a good shop shortage. And that might be true. And so he says over the next 5 to 10 years, with all the technology updates and a lot of these shops that don't want to update, don't want to train and do those things, they're owned by older folks anyway, so they may phase out. And so, I mean,
Hmm.
we're going to see a major shift in a lot of these things due to technicians wanting to take more control over their career, but also shop owners just aging out of the industry. So, you know,
100%. And it's when you say that, I think back to our Ratchet and Rich industry survey. So our 2024 survey, hits the nail on the head. The average shop owner is someone who's been in the industry for at least 3 decades, who has 3 to 4 decades rather, started shop late in life, but they're in their late 50s and early 60s.
hmm
And so like you talk about, it's a mentality. Cause I think that, when you've had that mentality that, work is one way, for
right,
your whole life, you were raised up in an ecosystem where work was one way. We work hard. We do it my way, my way. It does. It creates personnel problems because people don't work that way anymore.
hmm
They require more out of their boss. They require a leader and not a manager these
hmm
days. Someone who's
right,
also thinking about their long game career. I come to a job. I don't want to come to a job to punch a clock and go home. I want something substantial at the end of the day. Why am I here? Why am I staying here for 10 years, 15 years? Are you giving me the opportunity to have a career here, or you just need a warm body on the court,
right, right. I think there are four major buckets when it comes to the automotive industry, and I think we've hit all four of them now. So, check, 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 check. We did that, but tell people where they can find your work, where they can learn more about Endeavor and all the news outlets that you guys cover for shop owners, technicians, anybody in the industry that wants to keep up with what's going on.
Yeah, so you can learn about all of our brands. We have through our various websites, whether it's at ratchetwrench.com, vehicleservicepros.com, fenderbender.com, moderntiredealer.com. You can learn about our various brands through those websites. Actually, for one more, I forgot Nolan.net, which is National Oil and Lube News. So learn about all of our vehicle brands through there. We have newsletters you can subscribe to, podcasts you can listen to in each of the many of those verticals, videos. So I mean, we're an all-encompassing brand, but our people, our team of editors, they love this industry, Braxton. They love it. I mean, they really are eager for feedback. They want to work with people. They're excited. So I can think of no better team and no better place to be, and no better industry to be in right now.
Well, he is Chris Jones, and we want to appreciate you listening to this podcast, this watching this video on YouTube, if that's where you're getting this content. And if you want to congratulate Chris on his new opportunity, definitely do that. Excited for Chris as you started back in early June. You said
Yeah, started back the first Monday in June.
so, month and a half in, and super excited to see what happens next with Endeavor and all the brands that they've got going on, and what Chris is going to have his hands in. So, let me know your comments, your thoughts in the comments on this video and in this podcast on social media as well about all these topics that we touched on today. Because those four major buckets, in my opinion, they are the foundation of this industry and also the future of the industry. So super important to keep up to date on each of those. If you're a technician, if you're a shop owner, if you're just an industry leader across automotive repair, those things are a big deal to you, your life, your career. So let me know your comments, your take. If maybe something that I said or Chris said you might differ with, let me know in the comments, and I would love to hear your perspective on that. So I appreciate you following along on all the social media channels for automotive repair news today.